clothes were ruined. He looked to see Mei standing with her hands on her hips and a giant smirk on her face. Naruto sighed and gave Mei an apologetic smile. Sorry, Mei-chan. I didn't mean to oversleep. I was just having a great dream. Naruto gave her a big thumbs up, making her giggle. She shook a finger at him, scolding the blonde. It's okay, Naruto. You're up now. That's what matters. Get prepared in your new clothes and we'll head down to the training room together. Naruto nodded and went straight for the closet, grabbed his new clothes, and was ready to change when he noticed Mei hadn't left. She appeared to be waiting for him to strip. Naruto blushed and sent her out, making the hair beauty pout and fake a few tears. He just laughed and began to change. Soon enough, Naruto walked out and followed Mei down training grounds of the Tirami estate. They arrived and Naruto took out his fire jutsu scroll and began to read from it, while Mei quietly observed from a distance. Naruto brought his hands together in his trademark hand sign and yelled out his jutsu. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Mei watched in awe as thousands of Naruto clones appeared and from a giant cloud of smoke, each a perfect copy. It must be a jutsu from Konoha. But how can he make so many? His chakra reserve must be huge to have that much stored. Alright, I want 200 of you perfecting our fire manipulation and shape manipulation. Another 200 will work on the Grand Fireball Jutsu, and the last 250 will work out with me on learning new Fire Jutsu. All of the Naruto got into groups just as Naruto commanded and began to work on their assigned task. Naruto stood with his 250 clones and began to read his Fire Jutsu scroll. They watched all the clones begin their jobs flawlessly, each operating in perfect unity with one another and having the ability to use jutsu. The shadow clone jutsu was an interesting technique indeed. Miss Shensen to Naruto and tapped him on his shoulder. She gave him a cute look. Naruto-kun, what's the point of having all these clones do different exercise? Isn't it just a waste of chakra? Naruto looked at her as if she was crazy and remembered that the shadow clone jutsu was a Konoha hidden jutsu. She would have knowledge of its abilities. Naruto smiled at the busty woman and scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. Oh well, I learn everything what my clones learn when they dispel, so I can get this training done quicker. Mei was amazed at the jutsu's practicality when used outside combat as well. She contemplated forcing Naruto to teach her that, but it would break their trust. No matter how much of a gain it would be for Cutie, uh, Mei wouldn't do that to Naruto. She was just let me zoom in real quick. She was content just watching him from a distant thunder tree. He had begun to give out orders to clones onto new fire jutsu, and she smiled as well as how well he had settled for his new training. She felt an incoming chakra as she turned her face to newly arrived Zambu, who was kneeling before her. Yes, what is it? May asked someone irritated that she was being interrupted. Mizukage-sama, your presence has been requested in the council hall. Zanbu stayed before being dismissed with the wave. Mei grimaced. Counselors were so annoying. Naruto, Mei waved at him to get his attention. He looked over to her. I have to go to a meeting. I'll be back soon. Don't overwork yourself, she announced before shunning away, leaving a dumbfounded Naruto wondering what the meeting was about. Oh well, I have to get Jutsu down. I want to impress Mei-chan with my skills. Naruto went back to school and kept reading, his clone working hard to accomplish his task. The Mizukage had arrived, and a mass temple announced to seated counselors, most being civilians of prestigious families. They all stood in respect as the powerful woman entered and moved to her chair, taking seat and removing her Kage hat. You may be seated, she said, waiting for everyone to sit before asking her question. What was so urgent that you pulled me away from training our newest shinobi? Couldn't wait until next meeting? All the men frowned at their Kage's harsh tone. She had never respected them since she took office. Animosity brought on by his massacres. A wizened councilman spoke for the rest, not shying away from her threat. That is the exact reason why we called to have you here, so you can explain why you allowed a foreign ninja into our village. And not only that, but volunteered to train him yourself. This is outrageous, Mizukage-sama. May glared at the man named Kyo. He had he had been a thorn in her side for far too long. He had been against her ascension to Mizukage since the beginning, both for her gender and bloodline, and they had brought her to have no respect for the man whatsoever. She kept as calm as she laced her hands together and held them in front of her face. In quiet deliberation, she talked with a cold, emotionless void, a voice that sent chill up every one of the counselor's spines. I am the Mizukage Kyo, and my word is law. The shinobi I inducted into our corps is a former ninja from Konoha, and he left on his own accord. I feel that he will be a valuable addition to our forces, and due to some of his unique abilities, I have taken the responsibility of being his teacher. The councilman seemed content with this answer, but Kyo wasn't done yet. You only say that because he is an Uzi. The man couldn't finish his accusation before May was in front of him, her hand around her throat. Instead of threatening the man with a smile, she wore an unbridled scowl on her face from pure anger that this man would dare bring up that name. How dare you? Do not insinuate I play favorites with a clan that I was once part on. That boy had no knowledge of my relation with him, and that will stay that way. If anyone can train him to harness our strong bloodline, it will be me. Now get out of my sight. I'm done here. The councilman quickly fouled out. Kyo was last, holding his throat from the pain. May slowly walked around the table, back to her seat. She laid a hand on her kage hat and ran her head over it. Her thoughts were conflicted on the issue of once again being associated with the Uzumaki clan, something she wished not to relive. I'm no longer made Terumi Uzumaki, just made Terumi. Our clan willingly left behind our past to begin anew in Kirigakure. But why does it feel like when I'm around Naruto that I wish to be pulled back into the Uzumaki clan? Willingly even. It's as if all the past transgressions are forgotten. Naruto is new light in the darkness for the Uzumaki. But I should embrace it or try to keep the past in the shrouded darkness where I once felt it belonged. Terumi Estates, training ground. I have to work harder. I have to finish this jutsu before Mei-chan comes back. Naruto huffed in frustration. Yet his numerous clones have been focusing on a new fire jutsu for the past hour since Mei left, and he still hadn't gotten it. Okay, the jutsu is called Combustion Ash Cloud, and I breathe out a flammable cloud of ash before igniting it by clicking my teeth. The problem I'm having is maintaining steady flow of flammable ash, because it requires great concentration to mold the air in my lungs into ash. Okay, one more time. Each of Naruto's clones went through the hand signs and started to shoot out ash from their mouths. Combustion Ash Cloud Jutsu. Naruto formed a well-sized cloud of ash in front of him. He completely enveloped the wood training dummy on the field. He clicked his teeth together as the fuse ignited. The cloud exploded into yellow and red flash, creating a small shockwave. Naruto watched his clones follow suit, silently hoping that Mei wouldn't be too mad at the state of her clan training grounds. The fiery ash slowly dissipated, and Naruto watched anxiously for the effects of his new jutsu, and had a large smile on his face upon seeing his handiwork. The entire front of the training dummy was black and charcoal, slowly crumbling off the rest of the object. Naruto looked to see similar results on the area of the training field. Blackened remains of trees, grass, and soot-stained grass was the common view. Naruto suddenly heard the sound of clapping and looked in the direction to find none other than Mei. She was sitting on a chair and smiled brightly at him. He heard more clapping and looked into another patch of trees to find no less than a dozen Anbu, led by the swordsman Chojiro. They all looked quite pleased with his performance, even with their masks on. Mei appeared behind him and hugged Naruto from behind. Her breast squished against his back, making him blush. She whispered into his ear, sending lightning jolts through his senses. That was amazing, Naruto-kun. I'm so proud of you. Naruto hesitantly got out of her grip and turned to face her. He scratched the back of his head from embarrassment and thanked the Amber and walked behind the Mizukage. Thank you, but how long were you all watching me? Mei smiled brightly and jabbed a finger into his chest. Since you yelled out in frustration that you had finished the jutsu before I came back. The Anbu appeared at the same time. They escorted me here and stayed to watch this show. Naruto blushed again out of embarrassment. Why did she have to hear that? Naruto gave another appraising eye to the training field, and turned back to smiling Mei before bowing low, surprising both her and the other Kiri ninja. Please forgive me, Mei. I didn't mean to ruin your training field for my jutsu. Mei understood why he was saddened, but didn't understand why it mattered. It was a training field after all. She placed a comforting hand on his shoulder and spoke softly to the boy. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, this is training field after all. I was expecting it to receive damage like this with your fire training. We'll be working on fire for another month, so I need you at your top shape. Don't worry too much about the little things like this, okay? She finished, smiling at the odd boy beneath her. All the Anbu nodded their heads in agreement with the Mizukage. The kid was too hard on himself. Chojuro moved to be in front of Naruto and took off his mask, smiling brightly at the boy. He set a friendly hand on the boy's shoulder. Yes, Naruto-san, you can't worry about little stuff like this, I guess. Like this. I guess if you'll be training under me, you'll have to be strong. Naruto looked dumbfounded at this info and looked to Mei, who sent a playful yet cold glare to Chojuro, shutting the boy up quickly. Is it true, Mei-chan? I get to learn from Chojuro too? Mei gave Naruto a nervous smile and nodded her head slightly. Yes, Naruto-kun. As long as you can handle using all three of our nature elements, your training will be split up into three, hopefully manageable parts. First you will train with me, learn how to harness, manipulate, and use lava and boil release. You will then train alongside Chojuro and the remaining swordsmen here in Kiri. You will perfect your basic elemental chakra, learn Kenjutsu, and learn the massive jutsu that you will employ as a shinobi here in Kiri. Finally, I believe that you said that you took some family jutsu that you discovered a few here, so you'll need to learn those in your free time. I hope that you aren't angry that I made up your training regime without your consent, or regime without your consent. But it seems like something you would enjoy. Naruto, are you alright? Mei trailed off in her explanation as she saw Naruto begin to cry, and everyone was shocked when Naruto hugged the Mizukage tightly, smothering herself into her bosom but not perversely. May was surprised at turn of events, but thought nothing of them because before she wrapped her arms around the fragile boy, giving him the comfort he sought. The Ambu stood there in awe that the Mizukage hadn't reprimanded the boy for touching her so intimately, but figured that they were just comforting one another. A teary-eyed Naruto looked up into a Mei's emerald eye and tried to smile, attempting to form coherent words in his mouth. Mei, thank you. Naruto didn't trust himself to say anything more and just clung to the young woman, who smiled and held him close to her. He fell asleep leaning on her, still crying tears of happiness in his sleep. Mei picked him up and dismissed the dutiful Ambu, who stayed the entire time, truly touched by the young man's show of appreciation. Mei took him to his room and laid him down on the bed, quickly covering him up watched him sleep. She absently stroked his blonde locks, wondering how he kept it spiked all the time like that. Mei soon realized that it was getting late and that she really should leave Naruto to sleep. So she got up and started to leave, sending one more smile to the sleeping boy. She left his room, keeping the smile on her face, remembering just how much fun it was with Naruto here, how much he had affected her. Mei was forced to awaken from her thoughts when an Anbu messenger arrived from a mist cloud in the hallway, kneeling before her. Mizukage-sama, you have received an urgent message that is to be read in the Mizukage's feet. Mei nodded but held up a hand to stop the Anbu from leaving, and the man dutifully stayed, waiting for further orders. Anbu, do you know who the message is from? The Anbu spared a glance at the Mizukage's now worried face and knew why. Jonin ranked ninja and above had all been briefed on the Uzumaki runaway. It is as we feared, ma'am. Konoha must be searching for him. Mizukage's feet. Where is the message? Mei exclaimed as she burst through the office door, choosing to take the stairs this time to get to her office. It allowed her time to gather her thoughts on the message Konoha had sent and what she would do. In front of her stood Kiyo and three other councilmen, all woken from their sleep for an emergency meeting on the priority message sent from Konoha Gakure. Kiyo begrudgingly stepped aside and motioned towards her desk, giving her a view of the rolled-up message, awaiting the Mizukage seal to open it. Rarely did Kage send message that required a fellow Kage to be present to have it opened. This meant that Konoha was either asking for their help in finding Naruto or accusing them of kidnapping the boy and threatening war. This is it, Mizukage. We have been waiting for you to arrive so that we may see what Konoha deemed necessary to send us. Mizukage almost growled at the lack of respect Kiyo showed, but realized it would just make a scene, something she did not need right now. Mei picked up the scroll and walked around the desk and sit on her chair. She reached into the desk drawer and pulled out the official Mizukage stamp, the symbol of Kirigakure. She pressed it onto its correct spot in the steel, and it shined brightly before calming itself, allowing the Mizukage to open the scroll and read. She read the source message with practice for precision and quick decision-making skills treated for someone in her position of power, but inside she was shaking at the implications. To Mei Tirami, Goddame Mizukage of Kirigakure. I, the Gundam Hokage of Konoha, urgently request you reveal the age in finding a ninja who had left the village under vague circumstances. His name is Naruto Uzumaki, and my information network had led me to believe him heading to the east of Far Country towards Kiri and the old Uzugakure ruins. Inside, I have placed a complete dossier of the Genin in question. I hope that you can identify, detain, and return him as soon as possible to his Fire Country borders. I am aware that we have no treaty with one another and that you are under no obligation to heed my request, but I beg you, think of it as a personal favor to myself. If you must, this boy is very important to me, and I wish to have him come back to his home. He had stated that he did not wish to come back, but I believe he has not told me the real reason behind leaving, and I am afraid he might do something rash on his own. Please, I urge you to keep an eye out for Naruto and allow him to come home. This is all I want. Sincerely, Tsunade Senju, Goddamn Hokage of Konoha. May set the scroll down and did her best to keep calm demeanor on the outside, but she silently cursed when she noticed her hands were shaking. What could she do about this request from Tsunade? She sounded very close to Naruto, and it was as if Tsunade herself was one telling her the content of the message, begging May while on her knees to return the blonde boy. The councilman dare not pick up the scroll and read, anxiously waiting for the Mizukage to say something. Well, Mizukage-sama, that is the word from Konoha. They are under attack. May turned to the soft-spoken councilman and only shook her head negatively. Am I recording my voice? Okay, good, I am. It appears as though they wish us to keep an eye out for the little blonde Genin, one that is still considered to be part of Konoha Ninja Corps. However, May stood up from her chair and turned her back to the counselors, choosing to look out the large window and view the village. She focused on what should be her estate off in the distance, almost seeing Naruto sleeping soundly there, in Kiri, not Konoha. However, I know of no such ninja from Konoha that goes by the name here. The only Naruto Uzumaki I know is a promising Kiri Genin that lives in the Terumi compound. Surely a Konoha ninja would have no place in my own house, correct? She glanced at the councilman, looking for an answer to her rhetorical question. She received nods from each, even Kaio. She smiled, glad to see that the council agreed that Naruto could stay. She sat back down on her chair and pulled out an official Mizukage message scroll, and wrote back a reply to Konoha, stating that they would keep an eye out for the Genin. She handed it to her quickest messenger nin and shinobi, the shinobi left in a shunshin, leaving her to dismiss the council and head back home. On her walk back, she never once questioned her decision to keep Naruto there, for it was that he asked to stay. May also wish him to stay. Even though it had only been 2 weeks since his arrival, the blonde had garnered her attention like no other could, and she wasn't sure of her opinion on that effect. All she knew was that when the Uzumaki would smile or say something to her, all she could do was smile back and feel warm inside, something that scared and excited her at the same time. Upon arrival to the Terumi estate, she peeked into Naruto's room and found him in the same spot she left him, a big smile on his face. She smiled at the sight of him, knowing that her decision was right, that he truly belonged here. She went to bed herself with a smile and the simple thought running through her mind that held her happy mood together for the night, and the many nights to follow. Welcome home, Naruto Uzumaki. This is truly where you belong. 8 months later. Hey, Mei-chan, do you think that we can have some ramen after my big test today? Naruto sat with Mei in the Terumi house kitchen. Both sat in high top chairs eating some quick breakfast on Chicken Island counter. The room was a dazzling mix of blue marble and pure paint for the wall color that made it look as though an entire room was submerged underwater. Mei looked to Naruto and was reminded once again of Naruto's addiction to ramen, something that is rare found in Kiri. So rare that Naruto was forced to eat other foods as his main diet, and having to ration his ramen stores for big occasions. Today was a big occasion. Ray was going to test Naruto on his fire, earth, and water affinities. If he passed, she would allow him to move on to what she dubbed uh, advanced training. It would follow the training regime that she had told Naruto about almost 8 months ago, officially getting him on track to becoming a great Kiri ninja. Yes, Naruto-kun, I think that I can manage to cook that. Naruto giggled at the thought of Mei cooking, since she wasn't very good at it. He had seen her burn everything from pork to white rice, and even sushi. He sometimes wondered if she just used the fire jutsu on food instead of cooking it with the oven. Mei faked a frown and glared at him when he started to laugh at her admittedly abysmal cooking skills. It wasn't her fault she never was taught to cook. Luckily, Naruto had taken to cooking for the two, and two of them, in his stay at the Terumi house, and he always cooked her favorites, something she greatly appreciated. After taking care of paperwork all day, she appraised Naruto with a practiced eye. The boy had grown some in the past few months. He had reached about her shoulders in height since he had first arrived. He had only been able to reach her chest, something that was very comical to her. His muscles had grown substantially from the early conditioning training that she had Chojuro put him through, and he filled out his Kiri outfit very nicely. She blushed at the thought of thinking of her student and a friend like that, but as a voluptuous woman like herself, she was very good at identifying good-looking men. Hey, Mei-chan, are you okay? You look a little flushed. Naruto was having a hand in front of her face to get her attention. She appeared to be thinking about something very intensely. Oh, what? I'm fine. Let's go start your training now, okay, Naruto? Naruto just nodded and silently shook his head, his head at the woman's antics. He would never understand girls. Terumi training grounds. Okay, Naruto, first part of the test will be fire manipulation. Show me the fire jutsu I ever. Show me the first fire jutsu I ever taught you. May stood off to the side behind the boy to avoid his jutsu, and critiqued many things about him as he went through the hand motion, then finally using technique itself. She worked Naruto very hard to ensure he was not only quick on his feet but could also accomplish jutsu and tactical thinking under fire, literally. May remembered teaching him how to think quickly in a battle situation. She made him stand on a bed of lava. The first few times were just May watching Naruto dance on the hot lava. She was awoken from her reverie when Naruto yelled out the technique name, Grand Fireball. Naruto shot the fireball straight into a nearby tree and resisted using one of his water jutsus to put it out, instead allowing May to quickly put it herself. He was taking the test very seriously, and he could very well be failed if he was to do anything out of sequence during the test time. He couldn't lose focus. Next jutsu, the first one you taught yourself. Naruto went through his hand shield and exhaled a large smog of ash from his mouth, filling a large area of the flammable substance. Naruto had perfected this jutsu before moving on to the next, making sure he could use it effectively, and the work paid off. Combustion ash cloud jutsu. Naruto clicked his teeth and ignited the gray fuel source, causing the cloud to turn red and yellow in extreme heat, burning away the burning burning and away anything within the cloud. May observed what remained of the straw dummies and was proud to say that she could not observe anything because it had all been burnt away. Next jutsu, give me something that can be used on multiple targets. Naruto Naruto shifted from I don't know this word. Okay, shifted through his memories banks in less than a second and came across a basic but extremely versatile fire jutsu that had been used many times. He went through the hand shield and put a hand up to his mouth to form the fire into a perfect shape. Phoenix Flower Jutsu. Naruto shot at least 2 dozen small fireballs into surrounding landscape, allowing Mei to clean up the mess once again. She smiled. Naruto had almost proven her um he had almost proven to her that he had perfected the basic knowledge of the fire nature. Just one more. Okay, Naruto, I need a little more proof than that. Impress me. Naruto smirked at that. He quickly went through some hand seals and he had seen the third Hokage do. Mei he saw third Hokage once too. Mei was interested. She couldn't identify this jutsu off the top of her head. This could be interesting. Fire Dragon Flame Bomb. Naruto pulled his hands away from his mouth and lowered them into a bent stance level with his hips, away from the blaze. Oh shoot! Wow. Away from the blade that was about to be released from his mouth. His mouth opened and he shot forth white hot flames in a beeline in front of him, extending the jutsu release as far as he could maintain. It was like a perfectly aimed flamethrower, but it required careful concentration and shape manipulation to contain the precise aim. And how long the jutsu lasted, Naruto held the jutsu for around 10 seconds before he stopped, not wanting to tire himself. When he had two more elements to go. Mei stood behind the boys, amazed at the careful aim and sheer heat that the jutsu generated. She observed the flame path and could not see any grass, trees, or shrubbery that were once in the flame path, only a charred, blackened line. Very good, Naruto, you passed the first test. Take a 5-minute breather before we move on to the earth release. Naruto nodded and sat on the ground, taking deep breaths, trying to regain some of the oxygen he used when he did the fire jutsu. May May waited out the 5 minutes just watching Naruto happily reminding herself that he was still here. Even after all this time, after she had sent the message of confirmation back to Konoha, she sadly thought of how Tsunade must have been hoping that she would find Naruto, but it was to no avail. May asked Naruto his opinion on the message, if he really wanted to go back the following morning. He replied with a deep frown and slow shake of his head. Konoha had yet to give up their search on him, but as far as public knowledge, May heard that everyone there thought he was dead. It sent her to think that she had somehow deprived Naruto of his old life, but she was always reminded of how he wanted to be here and how he would always smile at her. At Kiri, everyone had grown to love Naruto and his friendly ways. Even Kyo had taken liking to the boy. She was glad that Naruto integrated so well inside of the new village so quickly. Surely anyone else would have much difficulty, but not Naruto. Okay, Naruto, time for Earth release techniques. Show me a defensive technique first, something Earth is well known for. Right, Naruto went through the hand seal and yelled out the jutsu name. Earth style, mud wall jutsu. Naruto opened his mouth and mud spilled out in front of him. Um, Spilled out in front of him. Okay, the grammar in this is not bad, so it's not good. So I'm just gonna autocorrect it in my mind. Naruto opened his mouth and mud spilled out in front of him. A small arc. But looks were deceiving as the wall grew just as tall as the Terumi household. Thanks to the fairly large amount of chakra Naruto input into jutsu. Mei nodded at his handiwork, and Naruto quickly released the jutsu and watched the stone wall slowly crumble down. Next up, give me a basic offensive jutsu. She watched Naruto put his hand up in a single hand sign and focused a moderate amount of chakra into specific points in the ground nearby, all spots with practice dummies. Mei smirked. Here comes the best part. Earth release, rising stone spheres. Suddenly the ground crackled under the dummies, and large stone spikes skewered each right through their chests, piercing what could have been a person's heart. All of it was done simultaneously, and May did a quick head count. If this were a real battle, Naruto would have killed 5 enemy shinobi in less than 3 seconds. Impressive. Nice job. Time for the finale. Give me a combo attack featuring 2 Earth Jutsu. Naruto had been caught off guard for only half a second before quickly placing his hand in a hand sign for his first Jutsu choice. Earth Style, Great Mud River. Starting from in front of Naruto's feet, there were at least a dozen more feet in front of him. A small river of mud appeared from the ground, shooting forward with no intended target. Naruto went through 3 more hand signs and watched as the mud transformed to accommodate a large dragon head that popped up from the river. As it opened its mouth, Naruto announced his final jutsu collaboration move. Earth Release. Earth Dragon Bullet. From its mouth, the dragon shot 3 mud balls at 3 training dummies, enough to completely drown the target or use a follow-up technique to finish off the opponent. May smiled at the display and mentally checked Earth Release as a pass on Naruto's test. 2 down, 1 to go. Another 5 minutes, and then we can finish this boring test. Naruto just looked at the woman and gave a weary smile, wiping up some mud that had gathered on the edge of his mouth from the mud wall. Alright, Naruto, let's start. Give me a water clone. Naruto focused on the nearby pond and sent the molded chakra to take form with the water, manipulating it into shapes till N looked of himself a perfect water clone copy. Next up, show me a technique used to detain opponents. Naruto pushed his clone into the pond and stood on the water, going through a variety of hand signs right in front of the date clones. Water pigeon. Naruto toward held both hands in front of him toward the clone, and the water ball fit around the clone, entrapping it. Naruto left one hand inside to maintain the technique, while the other was free to move around. Alright, those are done. Release the jutsu and leave the clone. You'll need it later. Naruto released the water prison and his clone stood on the water next to Naruto, waiting for his orders. I want a simple water offensive technique. Go. Here we go. Water release. Violent water wave. Naruto shot a concentrated stream of water out of his mouth while maintaining the tiger hand sign. With one hand, with the other, with one hand and the other at his mouth, shaping the water into a concentrated stream. He shot it straight at the tree, almost uprooting it from the sheer pressure, but he released it too soon and the excess water fell to the ground. Good enough. Now show me an offensive attack with shape manipulation. Naruto thought of a reasonable attack and smirked, quickly going through the hand signs while facing his nearby clone. Haku used this on Sasuke. At least that's what the Tammy told me. 1,000 flying water needles of death. Naruto quickly pushed away from the doomed clone as hundreds of water droplets filled the air. and were quickly shaped into needles. The only blind spot being above the clone. The needles went straight for the kill, piercing the clone in dozens of spots, completely annihilating it. Mei began to clap and signaled the end of the test. Alright, Naruto-kun, you passed all three tests. You're moving up to the advanced training now. Naruto looked up at her and lazily pumped a fist into the air, in mock excitement. Whoopee, Naruto said with a breathless voice before collapsing onto the ground into a dreamless sleep. Mei was upon immediately checking for injuries of any kind. She cursed herself for not moving to catch him, but it had been too late for her to do anything, so she shunched to his room and once again laid him to rest on the bed. She flared her chakra and Chojuro appeared without his mask on. He observed his surroundings and walked up to Mizukage. She stood at Naruto's bedside, absently stroking his cheek with a slight frown, adorning her perfect face. Yes, Mizukage-sama may just now seem to notice the teenager and gave worried smile to the other blonde, trying to play off her concerns for Naruto. I just called you here to let you know that we'll be moving to phase 2 of his training. He passed the basics of elemental jutsu and manipulation. We'll now begin to really teach him now. Chojuro just nodded and looked at the boy, as if trying to read his strength with just a look. I understand the Mizukage training some. I understand the training, Mizukage-sama, but Chojuro scratched his head, nervous about questioning the Mizukage as well. She only smiled and set a hand on his shoulder, silently nodding for him to continue. Oh, shoot, my eyes hurt. He gulped and finished out allaying his concern. Why are you pushing him so hard to Goofy? It can't be because of Konoha, so what can we do to prepare him? It can't be because of Konoha, so what can we do? Um, We have to prepare him for what could be so dangerous. He looked out the window and away from Chojuro, silently remembering a memory from 3 months ago. Naruto revealed the secret to of his to me not too long ago, and since then I've realized how important it is for him to get stronger in the quickest amount of times. That's why I need your expertise, Chojuro, and every other Kiri ninja to help me train Naruto. The Mizukage cryptically explained the threat to Naruto's life because of the thing he contained, the Nine-Tailed. Naruto had revealed his Jinchuriki status to Mei, upon feeling as though he could truly trust her, and in the end, Mei was not at all too surprised. His stamina was godlike, his chakra reserves were off the charts, and his irregular birthmarks fit the description of past changes and other Jinchuriki appearance change. But it was good to hear him say it to her personally. He then took he then told her of the threat of the Akatsuki posed, an organization had only that she had only bits and pieces of knowledge about. He had told her enough, however, to elicit her concerns and immediate attentions. Since then, would she had made Naruto would be ready for when they came. I understand Mizukage-sama. By the end of the next year, he should be ready for anything that can be thrown at him. I swear on my honor as swordsman of the mist, I will not fail in training with Naruto. Mei smiled at Chojuro and his willingness to see Naruto's training personally. The two had become good friends since he had arrived, and she was glad to have him aboard. The busty Kage took one more long look at Naruto and then kissed him on the cheek, a rare gesture that sent her senses haywire, always asking for more. She walked away, following dutifully by Chojuro, and finished her thoughts on the matter of Naruto's training. I know he will be ready. He is an Uzumaki after all. As if Naruto could hear this, his smile widened a bit as his cheeks flushed with color at the compliment. Okay, so that is the end of part 3, I believe. Let me check. Yep, part 3. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It is currently 1 a.m. because my sleep schedule is fucked up. I have school tomorrow. Last part was yesterday, or part 1 was yesterday. Where I also have school, but having a good sleep schedule is overrated. So I will see you again very, very soon. Goodbye.